Hey, this is Mike Shank, and this is the At Speed podcast presented by Rocky Fork Company.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and I call this a very special At Speed podcast with Mike Shank and yours truly, Tim May, sort of the host. But Mike, we're on the eve of the 104th Indianapolis 500, the fourth Indy 500 for Meyer Shank Racing.
That's right.
Just give people a sense of what's going on in your stomach right now, what's going on in your head.
Well, the best thing is that we had a great carb day. We had a tough qualifying day a few days ago. We had a great carb day. And when I say we had a great carb day, I mean that Jack came out of the car very confident. And that's all as a team we could hope for, right? He passed a lot of people. He was able to go from the back of the line to the front of the line, passing the hard way to get there. We had good straight line speed. Everything was clicking for us, and we did. We kept working on the car, but at some point we said, let's just go to pit stop practice. And we did some pit stop practice at the end. So really happy to have his confidence, if nothing else. The confidence is everything around this place.
Let's go to a little video clip I did with Jack just about confidence, about the calm he feels now compared to 4 years ago, and we'll be right back.
Coming into May now, I just have August coming into the Indy 500, I guess you should say. There's a level of calmness that I think it brings, having done more than, one now, understand how the month can play out. I know, when it's good and when it starts to get bad, and, how to breathe and relax, through all those moments, honestly. I think the last few years have taught me when it's appropriate to be aggressive, when it's appropriate to let the race come to you. Again, if you haven't heard it already, I'm sure starts and restarts are going to be pretty action-packed this year, depending on how processional the race can be. But, it's a level of, the thing I feel the most is just a level of calm. Understand how this week plays out. I understand, how carb day is, and, I also understand how everybody changes their driving style from, when you're race running midweek to when you're racing on carb day, and then when you're actually in the race, just being ready for all those things, mate. Honestly, it's just probably the thing that I've learned the most, come to peace with, and honestly, just so excited to be in the mix with it all.
Right there, Jack Harvey was talking about the calm he feels now compared to 4 years ago, and you can understand that, right? I mean,
it's just experience. Experience around the place, knowing what he needs a car to feel like, right? And it's just coming around now. This place is so tricky. Today, or in the carb day, I should say, he knows what a good car feels like. So we can always aim toward that. It's just those little things. But when I was watching him on carb day, just cut through traffic, going high, going low. Made a little mistake, actually touched the curb, which is how Alonso got in trouble the other day. He managed to get out of that okay. It's just getting ahead of the car. You're not kind of driving this way, you're driving into the car, right? And it's just a brain processing thing, right? He knows what he needs. He knows what it feels like when it's good, when it's bad, from a balance perspective, and he took care of business.
Yeah, and you just touched on something too, though. He knows where to go and where not to go, but he knows if he ends up where he's not supposed to go, he knows how to get out of it, or theoretically,
or try to get out of it.
We've seen some real veteran drivers come here for the first time, like Alonso, and when he got in trouble, he didn't realize what it took to maybe catch the car. You've already blown the lap. That's where Jack has come along, right?
That's exactly the point. And the hope is that we get more tidbits as we go. This place is really, really difficult. There's a small group of people that really, really do well here and really understand the wind, right? The air around this place. And Jack's slowly getting there. And listen, we'd like to have a solid top 10. If the mood's right and everything lines up, a top 5 would be wonderful here. And we can continue on with the momentum this year.
Speaking of getting a feel for the place, hardly anyone in history has more of a feel for this place than Roger Penske. How do you like that segue?
That's good.
But I mean, there's no doubt what he's meant to this speedway upon purchasing it the end of last year. The improvements, etc., that he's put into it. I mean, you can feel Roger Penske's presence now at this place, can't you? Other than just the 18 wins he's got as a team.
I mean, it's everywhere. I played golf the other day at Graham's charity thing. The golf course is spectacular. The bathrooms are ridiculously nice now. I think Roger looks at this as a stewardship, a guardianship of the facility for the future literally for the future generations. and we're lucky that he has that kind of respect and reverence for this place, and I believe his family does too. So it'll be here long after he's gone and I'm gone. And what he's done, just the first, I call this the first round of updates, right? What he's done in this first round is, and I just feel horrible for him that we're with no fans, and not everyone can enjoy it. And every morning I get out of my motorhome about 6:30 and walk jog kind of 5 miles around this place, and it just amazes to me. All the nooks and crannies are clean. There's new pavement everywhere. Everything's painted fresh.
No piles of trash over here.
And we're honestly, we race against Roger, and I want to fight him every time we race. But in this regard, the ownership of this place and the series, and we couldn't be in better hands.
I talked to one of his drivers, Simon Pagino, the defending race winner from here a year ago, and of course he didn't really get his parade either. Pardon the pun, but literally, because the parade was called off this year. But I just talked to Simon Pagino about what Roger Penske means to the sport, and what do you think it means to him to be owning this place now. But also, like you said, you do have even though the guy's won it 18 times, you do kind of feel sorry for the fact that he didn't get to show off his new playground, for want of another term, to the masses this year. And we'll be right back after this little clip with Simon Pagino. What did you notice around this place that? Give me a couple things that Roger Penske now owns Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
But look, it's really well organized. Everything is lined up. Everything is in its place. He just redid the tarmac and gasoline alley, so the teams could pull their car without dragging on the ground. Those are little details that are very important to the crew members, to the teams, for their cars and the preparation they go into, but also the beauty of the place. Like, everything has been repainted. I came here in April, May, and the place smelled like paint everywhere. So, the experience for the fans is new screens everywhere. Experience for the fans is going to be tremendous when they come back. And Roger's put his heart into it. And it's amazing to see how much passion he has.
His parking spot says 18 instead of RP on it.
That's exactly who he is. Doesn't have the arrogance to put his initial on it, which is incredible.
But 18 saying something, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure somebody else did it. It's just who he is. He's a remarkable person, and I'm so proud to have known him so closely.
Last question: do you feel for him, putting his heart and soul into this, buying this, taking it to another level? And then what y'all are dealing with?
Absolutely, Tim. I feel for him. I mean, think about it. It's probably been a dream of his for a long time, and he came here when he was very young with his dad. And think about it. We've all been in his shoes. We've all been here with our dads, and imagine buying the place later on and owning it. So I'm sure it was very exciting for him to put the race together and have 350,000 people show up to this place. But that will happen next year. Nonetheless, we should feel so grateful we're having a race, the biggest race in the world, happen this year.
Yeah, now, folks, you see why Simon Pagino is one of my favorite drivers, because he puts his heart and soul even into interviews with the media, and I've always appreciated it about him. He is a personable dude, right?
Great guy. Like, tons of time for him. His job is at different times. People that have reported that his job is in trouble, but he just keeps driving through it. Yeah. And he's an awesome competitor. Always hard to beat here.
What a way to drive through it last year than to sweep the month of May, winning the Grand Prix here, and then the pole, and then the race. Yeah. And obviously, a lot of big time studs are coming from different directions in this race this year, because the Honda really I think flipped the field upside down, or at least jumbled it. Absolutely. Compared to a year ago. And just for example, Jack starting on row 7. Yeah. He's got Tony Kanaan and all, a lot of Penske's behind him. Yeah. What does it just tell you about the first segment of this race? What are we going to see, Mike?
Well, so we have Dixon at the front and Kanaan kind of, two really experienced guys. Yeah. With Dixon up at the front, that's a problem. That's a problem for all of us, because the whole time we're running, he's thinking, he's playing chess. In his head, he's calculating what he needs to do next, how much fuel he needs to save, when it's time to fight, when it's not time to fight.
Hey, wait a minute, let's just admit it. you've got a little bit of an owner-driver crush on Scott Dixon. A little bit,
when people
right?
ask me, he's my guy.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm not the only one.
People that pay attention to this podcast know that, but you're exactly.
But I'm telling
right.
you, on the front end of that, on the back end of that, you got Tony Kanaan, who's somewhere between this is his last one or maybe next year. I don't know.
45 years old.
Yeah, and but he's always been a great starter. So you'll see him get high. He'll go up high and go around people at the starts of these things. So we'll alert Jack to be ready for that potentially. Jack's in the middle, I believe, in the middle of row 7. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, the way IndyCar is today, the move's got to be made on starts and restarts. That's where it's really made. Everything else is hard work, right? Really late stabs into turn 1 and 3.
You hope the other guy gives you room.
It's high risk, right? And so the start, you see a lot of chaos. I think if you watched on Carb Day, you saw a lot of good. You saw what you're going to see in the race. There's going to be a few cars, maybe I would say half a dozen, that can actually pass and pull up on people. We knew we were, like on Sunday after qualifying, we were not very good, and we couldn't pull up on people. And that you just got to at least be able to get in the draft. If you can't do that, you have no hope.
Yeah. And
it's hard to even maintain. So you got to have that forward momentum and the advantage, and a lot of it comes from balance, some from horsepower, that kind of thing.
It's funny because I talked to Scott Dixon about starting on the front row, what it takes to win from there. Talked with Kanaan, talked with Graham Rahal starting in row 3, in the middle of row 3. All you guys are in the middle of it.
Right.
But at the start, that's sometimes the very worst place to be is the middle of anything, right?
I'm hoping that they spread out a little bit and we get through 1 and 2.
But they all have really good takes on it. And then I'll talk with Jack, too, about, just his approach on Sunday. But we'll get that in a little while. But, let's just listen to these veterans. All these guys have 10 or more races, 13 or more races under their belt here. 2 of them have won the race. I'm talking about Scott Dixon in 2008 and Tony Kanaan in 2013. Let's just listen to what they talk about the desire to get to the front, but don't be stupid.
Race this weekend, I think the number 9 Pincy Bank Honda's definitely had a lot of speed, and I think we definitely need to give a big shout out to Honda and HPD. They've done a tremendous job in what's a very mature engine kind of competition at the moment. With this kind of engine, and to dominate Fast 9 and almost dominate the first half of the grid. I think we see that there's definitely a little bit more a lot closer coming to race running. But I think everybody feels quietly confident. You can't be cocky or think it's going to be easy. It's definitely going to be the toughest race of the year, and you definitely got to dig deep and try and make the most of the opportunity that we've all been given.
We'll have the same plan, I guess, right? I mean, we're all starting back there. We're going to try to move to the front as quick as we can. I think that this race, especially, I'm trying to put it in my head that maybe in the beginning of the race it's not going to be that easy to pass because I have so many good guys around that maybe if we play smart we'll be able to move to the front together. So it's a different dynamic. I think like Ryan was saying, it's going to take more than 2 or 3 laps to set up a pass. So I think the key will be to be patient in the beginning of the race and not get too carried on if you're not moving forward as fast as you wanted to move.
Just what's your feeling race day? How many people are in this race in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot. If I look at it, it's a lot of track position, but there's probably 20 plus guys that have a chance to win this. It all comes down to being smart and seeing how this thing plays out. There's going to be some accidents. There's going to be, all of the other questions that always surround this race. So we'll see, but there's a lot. There's a lot of good guys.
A lot of people are talking about no passing. It's been difficult passing here, but you guys always figure out with the Indy 500 on the line
how to pass. I think there's a lot. Actually, watching the last few days, there's been quite a lot of passes. So I think that that was everybody's sentiments maybe like early in the month, early in the week and a half.
Yeah.
But I think now that everybody's worked on their race cars a little more, I think there will be some more passing. I think it'll be interesting.
And last question. I've asked guys this question. A lot of you have asked you, does the Indianapolis 500 owe anybody anything, or is it?
Not at all.
You understand what I'm saying? You've been here. You've been in contention here. You've had your tough times here.
No, this place will challenge you to the max. You can never take it for granted. That's the main thing, and never feel like you've got it under control, because I can assure you this track will bite you. It will get you, and but at the same time, I've always said this track writes its own story, and in the book, there's many chapters, and you've got to, be prepared and hope to be lucky and everything else to make sure that this year's your chapter.
Hey, Mike, you heard Tony Kanaan refer to the word patience, or being patient.
Yeah.
How do you? Number one, I've never seen Tony Kanaan be patient, especially on restarts.
Yeah.
I think his goal is to pass at least 7 people at the start of this race.
That's ironic he's saying that.
Yeah.
Because he's always the guy you get capped 4 wide on the outside.
Yeah.
Out in the hot dog wrappers. Patience is a tough game, and he's right though. I mean, truly, you don't want to wait around too long, but you just got to know what mountain to die on, right? You got to pick the point you're going to say, you know what, I'm not giving any positions up. I'm staying right here, and I'm going to start trying to advance, right?
Yeah.
And anytime you're pulling back, you're not as positive as you should be out there, right? And you get taken advantage of. And you get, so you got to put your head down. Take them at these restarts. Take them as they come. Start saving some fuel. Once you get lined up, it's hard. If you're not going to make a move, then you might as well save some fuel, right?
Yeah.
And guys will start lifting going into 1, going into 3, and start letting the strategy work out a little bit, And the patience is good. Patience is really good, and it's especially and you're going to see it a lot going into 1, these kind of late dives, right? Because they get these runs, it starts back in turn 3, and they get these runs that end in 1, and right at the last minute they shove it in there, and that's that patience. Because once you do that, you've killed your momentum. If there's someone back here working you, they're going to pass you going down the back straight.
Yeah.
So all that lunge was not worth it.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
Patience until you know you got it.
It's crazy to think about driving one of these cars, because as soon as you get in fresh air, I think you feel like you have a totally different car.
You do.
Because the aerodynamics are working as well as they can for
They
you.
are.
As soon as you get behind the car, it's the opposite of that, but you're getting sucked up a little bit.
There's 2 things we talk about, Tim. We have a setup on the car where we're leading a pack, and a setup when we're riding.
Yeah.
Okay, and basically we use our tools and our gearing to change that. We're prepared for that, and it's 2 different cars. We start moving the weight jacker around, and
But boy, wouldn't you like to be like Brian Bailey flying his little Cirrus, the sponsor of this show from Rocky Ford Company? You could just add a little trim here and there with your, aerodynamic trim.
Yep.
But I've always thought, man, if you could do that from the cockpit, this would be a total different exercise.
It really would be. And of course, they have that in Formula 1 on the
Yeah, exactly.
flat.
Oh, yeah. The DRS
Right.
zone.
Yeah.
But I digress. But, I got into it with Jack Harvey a little bit, as in conversation. I said, Mike Shank's been coming here as long as you have. I said, he's a self-admitted OCD, which I think he's just driven, pardon the expression. But I said, what is he like? Has he changed much on race days or getting ready for this race? And he had an interesting answer.
This would be interesting.
Basically, his answer was no comment. But he put it politely and stuff.
English,
But I was just talking to him, about this team, and we'll get to it when we get back after we listen to him here. But I'll just give people a hint. You guys aren't here for a participation button.
No.
We'll get back in just a moment. We'll talk about that.
No, we're not.
Admittedly OCD, obsessive compulsive. What is he like on a race day at Indianapolis? What has he been like this month? But what is he like especially? And has he calmed down a little bit from the first couple of times?
Well, I feel like if he's listed, I should probably say yes. The thing about Mike and the thing about the whole team, and myself included, we're not just that time of. We are always extremely grateful for the opportunity to compete in the NTT IndyCar Series, to be one of the drivers, to compete in the Indy 500. However, in some ways, we don't want to be one of the cars that's here just to make up the number. We don't want to be one of the 33. We want to be one of the 33 trying to win the race.
Yeah.
And we've had that approach all year, and that's why we've been happy with the performances that we put in this year. We're coming trying to achieve something awesome. Frankly, what that is, we'll find out, and that drive and that desire for everything to be good and great, starts with Michael and Jim. Works through the team, works through me. And together we all just have this common goal, common desire to try and win. And if we're not, we want to be better. And if we haven't quite got our first win yet, but I feel like it's there's been a few times this year where it's been, things have been looking good. I love racing with Meyer Shank Racing. I feel the good days with them. I feel the bad days with them, and we just come through it together and just try and do the best we can.
The quote that stands out for me most from from Jack Harvey talking about you and Jim Meyer and this whole team is y'all are here trying to achieve something awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You're not here to just be part of the show. You know, you're a fan of this race going back as long
as I've been around.
Not as long as me, though. But the point is, there were people who were just here to collect, qualify and collect their participation money in the past. 25 cars, if things go right, maybe 30, have a shot at this thing on Sunday. Explain that to people about what being here means to you and how you're not just here to show, you're here to win the dough.
I mean, for me, it's I don't know. I'm driven to try to be a part of the history here. It's Fenway Park. It's Churchill Downs. It's it's Daytona for stock car folks. I mean, this is where I want to make my mark in the world. And we started with nothing in this business, and then built it to something now, and got great things coming that I'm going to announce soon. And but really, it's really about getting in the history books for me. There are certain things in my life in racing that I want to get done. One of them is winning here. We've won Daytona. We've won Watkins Glen. We've won Petit Le Mans. We've won some cool places.
Yes.
We want to win Indianapolis and Le Mans, overall Le Mans. And I think we have a chance at both of those in the near future.
Wow.
And we look forward to that. But my partner people always say it's never about the money, and it's always about the money, right? Well, in this case, I would like to leave our mark out of Gahanna, Ohio.
And the thing about it is, when you leave your mark, sometimes the money follows.
It does.
And I think you little bit of the cat out of the bag there, a little bit about wanting to win overall at Le Mans, but we'll get into that in a later podcast.
Future story.
But the bottom line is, Mike, you've been to all of those venues. I get a little bit of goosebumps just thinking about the experience you've had, just being a part of it. I mean, being a part of it is an achievement unto itself, isn't it? I mean, to have gotten the wherewithal to actually even be a competitor.
Well, that feels like participation to me.
But I
want to compete, though. I want to compete for the wins in whatever we're doing. If it's GTD for the last 4 years in our class, I want to win that class, which we've done.
Yes.
We're here at Indianapolis or any IndyCar race. We've kind of crept our way up to where we're at today, and we expect to get better results. We just expect it. And if we don't, then we need to make some changes, because we have the budget now. We have good drivers. We have proper people, engineering, the equipment. We don't lack for a lot like we used to. I can't complain to you that we don't have what the others have, because we do.
Yeah.
So we need to put it in action and get results.
But I would like to just reiterate, ladies and gentlemen, in order to win the Indianapolis 500, you have to be in the Indianapolis 500. As they'll say it goes, you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
Let's touch on a couple of things here. A couple of, I think, special decals are going to be on your car on Sunday. One is honoring Schraubel Pruitt, the wife of Marshall Pruitt, who Racer.com fame and stuff. And you guys, I think, share a podcast on with him. And
we do some work,
occasional
stuff for his podcast.
Why is that important to you, though, for her name to be on the?
Well, I have a relationship with Marshall, a long-term one. We shared a great friendship with Justin Wilson together.
Yeah.
I got to know him a lot through there and sports car stuff, and that car, the AutoNation car the cause is cancer, right?
Drive Pink.
Drive Pink, and I think she fits that bill, and it's a friend. So we want to try to help a friend.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we had an anonymous donor come that's also a fan of Marshall's that wanted to make sure that his generosity. He didn't want me to talk a whole lot about who he is, but some people have figured it out already. But in any case, we wanted to share that with Marshall and the family, and we're grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's funny what being a part of this race means, no matter how you are.
Yeah.
And Pat Kennedy, been a factor.
That really came with Jack. Pat Kennedy. I don't know did you know Pat?
No, I did not know him, but I know of him.
Of him, yeah. So him and his core Indianapolis group supported Jack financially. Not tons, but enough in 2017 that they pooled money, and
a guy's got to eat, man.
And so and they contributed it for a couple of years now. And I believe Pat even bought Jack some simulation equipment to do iRacing during pre-COVID. So when this happened, it really shook the foundation of kind of. And to be honest with you, I met Jim Meyer and Jim was in that group with Pat, that Indianapolis-based group. So we all owe Pat a lot.
Yeah. And Pat passed away.
From the COVID.
From COVID-19 in April.
Yeah. He's written a couple books about this place, which are great, and I have a couple. He gave me a couple, and he really he had more passion for this place than probably anyone I knew, and he was always here. If we tested here, if we raced here, and I can't say that I was really close to him, but I knew him well enough to talk to him all the time. But that was a tough one for Jack.
Yeah.
So Jack has done this replica helmet of the open face helmet he wears when he runs his roadster around here. And that's what Jack had on Carb Day, and that's what he'll have on race day. And he gave a replica of that to the family this past week, and I'm positive they loved it.
Like I said, it's huge what this race in particular, the Speedway in particular, means to auto racing. Forget about, the ilk of auto racing, just what it means. But then, like you said, it even helped foster the relationship between you and Jim Meyer. And now I think you could hardly even imagine y'all's team without Jim Meyer on board, right?
No, I can't. I really can't. But what Jim and his family have done for me and my family in the businesses will go down in the history book someday, and we'll write a story about it because it's just phenomenal. Yeah. And that came out of Pat. One thing I've noticed here is we all love Ohio State football from Central Ohio. Certainly Central Indiana and maybe the Midwest, there are people with passion for this place as much as there is for Ohio State.
Columbus gets one of the biggest ratings every year for the Indy 500.
For this race.
Yes.
So what that tells me is that generations of families have come here on Memorial Day, and the kids bring the kids, and then they have picnics out in the parking lot, and the party or adult party, they grow up here. So it's literally, if they live in California today, they will fly back in for the month of May if you're from Central Indiana, or maybe the Midwest even. And I think that's really cool. And I think the true sign of that, and Tim, you've seen out here, these folks are tailgating outside the track. There's a couple breaks that you can actually see the car kind of zip through, and they're in those breaks, right?
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it's awesome. And when they do come back, even if it's a halfway at the harvest race in October here, we'll make sure we take care of it.
I asked Douglas Bowles, the guy that runs, for Penske Entertainment Corp now, used to be for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway group, but he's still largely in charge in that regard. And I said, "What's y'all's responsibility for even policing those people?" Because there are going to be thousands out.
I think so.
No matter what they're telling them to stay home and watch it. I think Doug needs to take a little bit of a lesson on tailgating, because Ohio State games, there are people who sit in the parking lots and watch the games on television.
Right. Just love to get together.
That's where technology is taking people now. And I guarantee you there are going to be thousands in and around this area with the TV blaring, but they can hear the cars. I've told you on an earlier podcast, it's part concert, man, this race, because it's literally, you can't hear the PA when the cars are running. You know what I mean? Around here. But that's given me a little bit of a feel for this place. Of course it was going to survive, especially under the stewardship of Roger Penske through this COVID-19 challenge. But that's even giving you more of a feel that the Indy 500 is alive and well, even though it may be still in the bud this year.
Can you imagine spending the money he did on this place in the series and have this happen?
No.
I just, so what can we do? He's committed, we're committed. The owners, I can tell you, united behind him and whatever we have to do financially to make sure we get through this year. IndyCar was on a nice trajectory. We've talked about that in the past. This kind of derailed us a little bit, but I still like the numbers from, qualifying weekend were good TV numbers. I think we're going to have a record positive of it Sunday.
Yeah.
And we certainly look forward to building it again for 21 when we get back here in May, which is not that far from now.
Okay. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like Ohio State talking about playing a spring season and playing a full season after that. I can't imagine that, but that's another podcast.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Hey, last thing. What's your sense, number one, of how you guys are set up for this race, meaning from a contending standpoint?
Yeah.
And number two, get your crystal ball out and tell me how you feel this is who is going to be in it at those last, like after that last pit stop, when everything comes off I'm talking about all the feathers come off.
Yeah.
What's just your sense of this 104th running, how it's going to play out?
That's a great question. I think you got to go with some experience at the end of these races. So guys like Pagenaud and Dixon and stuff that have the craftiness to get up and stay up there.
Yeah.
We looked at a lot of cars on Carb Day, and you like, who's good? Who do we want to come out with and practice with and see if we're better than. I think there's a couple of the Andretti, 2 or 3 of the Andretti cars along with ours that are top 10 cars.
Give me an example.
Rossi looks really good.
Yeah.
Herta looks good. I think we look good.
Yeah.
In that stable.
Y'all were 9th, I think, or
Well,
8th.
we were 9th.
I know that doesn't really, yeah.
But you had to watch. You had to watch the ebb and flow,
Yeah.
everything, right? And get a true sense of how the cars got through traffic. Because we get at the back of a line and we cut up and then we glide back and we try to do it again, right?
Yeah.
And practice it, right? And I thought we did, like, conversely, Sunday after qualifying, we couldn't pull up on anybody. So it was a real difference. And it looks like we're all, well, listen, it all can change. Now keep in mind also, if it rains, like they're talking about bursts of thunderstorms potentially,
Great.
that's going to change it all up. And in that can make it a very interesting race. And that's when 29 of those 33 could win the race.
Yeah.
If someone makes the right call with a thunderclapper coming over the stands here, right?
Yeah.
That's when it gets really good.
Well, what tells you when you're starting 20th, there's a good chance the way things work today, because I was watching Jack, I was watching others too.
Yeah.
And I'm talking today, it's carb day while my wife calls it windshield washing day because there's no carburetors.
There's no carburetors.
There are windshields now.
Yeah.
Ironically, my wife was eventually,
Ahead of time.
you didn't put out your wife always ends up being right, but I digress. But there are a lot of cars that can kind of run with each other. So if you're kind of on the lead lap and you're within sight of, a sight of to me is half a lap.
Yeah.
Do you risk going off camber, so to speak, and coming in early and trying to set yourself up, or do you just kind of stay with the flow because you're with the flow?
Well, that's a good question. So say in that scenario we were 16th, right? And we're just droning on in 16th. Maybe we're 14th and we're 17th and we're just kind of, absolutely we're going to do something. Because we're either going to finish 21st or we're going to finish second.
Yeah.
Or win
Or first, yeah.
So that bet is never hard for me. If it's anything below 15, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you might as well swing. And that's what we did in 2018 and almost pulled it off.
I know. That's why I think y'all have a hell of a chance on Sunday. Because I think, based on coming out of carb day, final practice day, I think y'all have got the machine to run with the big dogs.
Yeah.
And I think if you do, you can stay with the big dogs.
Yeah.
As long as you don't be stupid.
Yeah.
And but I tell you what, man, it's funny. Last year, I have a hard time betting against the fastest car on the lot, even though it maybe doesn't look that way on practice. And Marco Andretti, had the fastest car on the lot, except basically for the last day of practice.
Yeah.
And I'm not even sure what kind of harbinger that is. And it just tells me that when he finally puts his foot down, he might have a little bit more than everybody else. And we're only talking about this much.
Yeah.
I know. And Takuma Sato starting third. We saw Takuma rise to the top last year.
Sure.
And finish third.
And he's dangerous.
Alexander Rossi has figured his place out to get himself in contention.
Yeah.
He's going to be interesting to watch. But here's the problem. When I start doing that, Graham Rahal, he's sitting there quietly in 8th at the start. I think he's going to be a factor just based on what I've seen through the month, even though it's not a month now, a week. But the thing is, I could name 20 guys like that. That's why I think this could be as interesting in Indy 500
as ever.
And I'm not even sure the winner's going to be a surprise. I do discount guys who haven't been here very long, like Renus, VK, guys like that. Eventually, something happens. But they'll come back the next year. But like Marco Andretti said, in 2011 when Sam Hortz Jr. passed him at the end, and Marco was not into, like you just said, being here.
Yeah.
Hey, good job.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't know how many chances you're going to get to be in that position to win this
Not
race.
many.
I did that with Danica Patrick her rookie year, and she got kind of umbrage with me. I did a TV interview with her, and she took a little bit of umbrage with me. Well, this isn't the best a woman's ever done here before. And I go, yeah, but you never know when you're going to have that car to have a shot at the biggest prize in auto racing.
That's right.
You have to take advantage of it when it comes, whether it's your first year or your 15th and stuff. And I feel like you guys are as primed as anyone with the experience you put in, with a driver who I think is calm, cool, and collected for the most part.
He is.
You have that feeling too, right?
Oh, yeah. He makes, knock wood, he usually makes really good decisions.
How much does it just grind your gears, though, to know that, for one another term, karma or luck almost always play a role in this race.
Yeah.
It's something you can't
There's
plan.
nothing you can do about it. So, we had an ignition switch fail when we fired the motor up yesterday or the day before, right on the stands. And that would have taken us out of the race if it would have happened,
So it happened to Graham Rahal in Texas.
That's
Same
what I'm
thing.
saying. So, yeah, you're right. We got to have some luck, and man, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back after the race with a wrap-up edition of the Meyer Shank Racing team's endeavor in the 104th Indianapolis 500. But until then, this is Tim May for Mike Shank. We'll see you then.